Hey, how's it going, everybody? Happy Monday to you. Well, today I wanted to talk about a subject that has been talked about a little bit here, in the recent past by me and by other people. Um, but that is the adoption of a Cold War mentality. I think a lot of us are already there, but what do I mean by that? What do I mean by a Cold War mentality? Well, those of you that served during the Cold War in places like, Europe, particularly Germany, um, you remember before the fall of the wall and before the fall of the Soviet Union, you remember how tense things were. I mean, yeah, we partied a lot and this and that, but we all were under the impression that we really had to be careful about where we went, who we talked with, what we did, um, how much we drank. There was, as most of you know, that served during that time in those locations. There was an active Soviet presence in Germany that was overt, and they had special license plates that allowed them to be certain places and record certain things. It was pretty weird, and I don't remember all the details behind that, but I remember when we went through the intelligence briefings and things like that, and the training orientation that we had to be on the lookout for these vehicles that had these license plates, and they would set up around military installations and take photographs, and it's like they were authorized to be there. So it was kind of a weird time for sure. But me in particular, I was when I first went in the army, I was in a nuclear 8-inch artillery unit, and we were stationed probably about 45 Ks from the Czech border back when it was still communist. And so we had a particularly very short life expectancy should the balloon have gone up. But we knew that there were certain things we just couldn't say, couldn't do, places we couldn't go. It was just one of those things that was ingrained in us, and we understood the ramifications. And what I'm advocating for now is that we as Americans adopt this same approach when it comes to domestic enemies in our own damn country, apparently. So, foreign enemies are one thing, domestic enemies are something totally different. And unfortunately, I think that that's the approach that we need to adopt as patriots and as preppers and as people that do the things go. And it's a damn shame, but depending on where you live, I think it's more critical for you in other places. For example, if you live in New York State, you probably need to take a more deliberate approach than we do down here in Texas. I'm not saying we don't need to take that approach here, but you have a more dire need, I think, based on what I'm hearing and reading. I mean, that thing up there is way out of control. People talking about being, or electors talking about, elected officials, referring to locking up people who refuse to get the vaccine and or those that are, infected. I mean, that's some dicey shit right there. And excuse my French, but that's a real deal there. So with regard to taking a Cold War approach or mentality with regards to your everyday life, it goes along with everything from, who you talk to, what you talk about, where you go, what you do. There's people always watching. There's somebody always got a phone up recording something. So just get in the habit of expecting that and assume that anytime you say anything, it's being recorded or used against you. And I'm not talking about, being paranoid or anything like that. I'm just saying that once you adopt that posture, I think you're just going to be more careful about what you say and what you do automatically. And it takes some getting used to, but I think that a lot of people, especially preppers, we need to be careful about what we broadcast, especially now, because apparently the books are cooked on this Senate deal too, and I would not get your hopes up if I were you. I think this thing is spinning out of control, and the left knows exactly what they have to do in order to accomplish their mission, and I don't think there's enough uncompromised Republicans willing to do the things necessary to politically to right the ship. I know there's plenty of us that are willing to, but politician wise, I think it's pretty damn lame what they've decided to hang their hat on. The rhinos, that is, and the so-called Republicans, these conservatives, and basically with rubber spines. It's ridiculous. I have no mercy for them at all, and I hope they get what's coming to them. Anyway, with regards to him maintaining a Cold War posture, a Cold War approach, that goes with communications, all kinds. What you post online, what kind of stickers do you have on your vehicle? Are you broadcasting that you're this or that? And I'm all about, being free to be who you are. I'm just saying we might want to adjust the volume on that a little bit going forward, because it may make a difference in you catching hell or not, or being safe or not, especially if you're flying solo. So communications, be aware of your surroundings at all times. Be alert. Be prepared. Have your tools with you. Know what you're going to do. Have a plan A, B, C. Rehearse those plans. Whether you're going to work, if you're lucky enough to have work right now, if you're going to the store, if you're going to take kids to school, if you're going out of town, have alternate routes. Plan A, B, and C. Know them inside and out, and at least have them. Rehearse those plans. And the last thing is, a lot of us as Americans, and I'm not immune from this, we've gotten kind of lazy. We depend on technology. We're used to having things at the snap of our fingers, and that may be changing, going forward. I would grab yourself some old school things like some road maps, paper road maps, or an atlas, road atlas. Maybe some, different books, things that you can access that don't take up a whole lot of room, resources, paperbacks, hard copies, hardcovers, anything like that you believe you could get use out of from a resource perspective. Don't forget the kids, grab some coloring books, some mathematic workbooks, science, stuff like that. Those things can be handy too. You just never know what's going to happen. And I would rather be prepared for all of it in some form or fashion than to be deficient in one area or the other. But I hope everybody is, using OPSEC. OPSEC. You cannot take a chance on letting the enemy gain access to your plans or your strategies or your group, in a damaging type of way. And I would expect, especially in these left-leaning states with all the controls in place, I would expect to have some, undercover law enforcement activity infiltrating certain groups if they're large enough, and a threat to the state, if you will. So apparently it's not going to take much in New York for them to start rounding people up. So be prepared for that. And I'm sure other jurisdictions are going to follow. Anyway, Cold War approach, people. It's the real thing. I think it'll help you. I think it will help you be disciplined in what you do every day. And I sure hope that everybody's out there is staying safe and, gaining as much knowledge as they can. I know I try to on a daily basis. So with that, keep prepping, stack it deep, and always remember, Long live the Republic.